Best Lucio gameplay you've ever seen.
Look how fast I swing in this.
Oh, because you have my ult.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
Not a support diff though. Wow.
There's like a split second footer, like where you're like standing on somebody's head,
Yeah.
and it's considered like solid ground, and you can just pull your ult out on it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm missing out on all the people talking shit. What did they say?
You just asked, how much do you play Genji?
You said first time.
Oh, he's trying to get to 5.
Alright, we are here. Very excited today as we dive into our first of a series of character deep dives into Overwatch 2. And I am super excited. I have my nephew actually who's going to be joining us. He has been playing Overwatch for quite a long time, and he actually has reached some pretty amazing heights in regard to ranked play. Super stoked to have him. He goes by Coach Theory, and he actually has a Fiverr page up for folks that want to get lessons from him, tutoring. He'll review people's scrims. I'll let him go into all that stuff, but without further ado, just want to introduce our man here, Porter.
Yo.
Coach Theory.
Yep. So I go by Coach Theory. I got into Overwatch actually when I saw John here playing it, when it first dropped, like the year it dropped. So I ended up getting it on my Xbox. I was like, this game's sick. I remember just being obsessed about it, like just all the different team synergies and like the possibilities of the game. So I played it a lot on console. Then I kind of stopped playing it, and then when Overwatch 2 was getting like really hyped, I got back into it on PC, really started grinding out the game, and then when Overwatch 2 dropped, just grinded up to Grandmaster and everything, and then that's when my coaching thing kind of started. I was like, I'm kind of into the game now. I feel like I have pretty good understanding, so I started coaching on Fiverr, doing other like community team stuff, like teams trying to play for tournaments and stuff. And then I ended up recently hitting top 500 in tank. So yeah.
That's amazing, man. Well, I'm glad I could be the inspiration for the next generation.
Yeah.
'Cause I certainly am not going to be able to achieve your level of play. And after playing with you the last couple of weeks, yeah, it's definitely the next level. I would say, where would people find you if they're interested in getting their own coaching lesson? And I do want to highlight here, actually, and we'll put it in the description, but please comment on this video. Like this video, but please leave a comment. We're going to be giving away 3 free coaching sessions with Coach Theory, so you can get a 30-minute session with him where he'll walk you through whatever character you choose. He has a pretty immense breadth of experience with the game. But anyhow, sorry to cut you off there.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, I would love to coach anybody interested. But yeah, so I do have a TikTok. It's just Coach Theory on TikTok. I do have a YouTube with some content on there as well. But yeah, so yeah, my main thing is coaching through Fiverr. You can just look me up on Fiverr, Coach Theory, and I have a variety of different packages you can choose from. But I just coach for any roles on any platform, and yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, great. Well, today we're actually going to dive into one character in particular. So Genji, really fun to watch you play it. We were playing it last night. We do intend to kind of go through every character in the series or the game itself, but we're going to start with Genji tonight. And so the thought is basically talking through, maybe if you want to kind of set the stage for what your opinion or the strengths of what Genji is, and we were talking a little bit about some theories that I was not familiar with earlier around the concept of diving, the concept of these other things. Do you want to give kind of a quick synopsis on what Genji is and what he isn't, and that?
So yeah, I mean, so the main different compositions that people like to talk about in Overwatch are just going to be dive, Brawl and Poke. And the main differences are, you know, Poke is going to be playing for the difference. That's going to be like your Widowmakers, your Hanzos. You got Brawl. That's going to be like your close range, you know, sustainy type comps like maybe like Reaper and Reinhardt. And then a Dive are those just fast engagements that like try to take advantage of the backline and just high grounds and just playing fast. The main thing is engaging fast and disengaging fast. So that's going to be, you know, Winston, Tracer, and then things like a Genji that are really just good at closing that distance and just having that flexibility. Like something that's so good about Dive is just that they can pivot into really any kind of play. So they can kind of work the map and then just commit to a position at any point in time, and that's what makes it like really strong. And then Genji, you know, with all of his different mobility, like being able to double jump, wall climb, you know, dash, all those things, just makes him really good at diving.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we have some pretty good. You know, it would have been nice to get to play the game last night, at least one of the games we played, but you had just about every single one of them. So let's dive into some gameplay now. What I'll do is I'll spectate you in a game,
Gotcha.
in a quick play, if that works for you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on the Sneaky Squid account.
Yep, I will. You want to queue up?
Only the best of names. Yeah, I'm in a queue.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay, I just found a queue. Let me make sure I don't get Genji taken from me.
Yeah.
Alright, boom. There we go.
Okay. Hopping into spectate, and we will.
Yeah, so the main things I think about really on any role or hero that I'm playing is just, you know, what my team composition is and like what it's capable of. So you can kind of just look at it, and I like to think, you know, what is the main part of my team comp? Like, if I add up all the strengths of my team comp, are they more like brawl centered or dive centered or poke centered, like whatever it might be? Like here I have a Sigma, which, you know, won't be diving the backline with me, of course. So I have a Hanzo, so I have like a very slow team comp. Like my Hanzo and Sigma and my Mercy, they just want to play slow and play for damage over time. And then my Ana is kind of the same way, so that doesn't necessarily favor Genji. So what I'm thinking here is just looking for like a longer poke kind of section of a fight. Like I'm thinking like I want a longer poke phase because that favors my team, and then I can think about like hard engaging, mostly just looking for good Ana nades to engage off of. Like that's the main things I'd be thinking about coming into this team comp. And then of course like it also depends on what they're playing. Like, you know, they have a Mercy, they have a Diva. Like, say they had a Brig instead of a Mercy, okay? Like, now their backline's gonna be more protected, right? Like, that's something I would have to consider. Yeah, so on defense, I just like to think, you know, they need to initiate. So like, Diva walks in, okay, now I'm forcing this Mercy out, and like that Mercy had to disengage because, you know, if she doesn't, she dies. But when that Mercy does disengage, okay, now the Diva is forced back because she doesn't have heals, you know what I mean? Okay, but now the Diva is forced back into space. Okay, good. We succeeded.
So
we were trying to accomplish.
Held off that push for the point by
exactly.
Yeah, got it.
Exactly. So Diva tried to contest my team's space. I got rid of her support. You know, Mercy shouldn't have died there if, you know, they protected her more or whatever. Like, in theory, the Diva would have had to fall back to protect her Mercy, but then that would have denied the space, right? It's like right now I'm just playing very fundamental, very simple. Like the Diva simply just doesn't have support, so, you know, she just dies. You know, very simple. So, you know, Widowmaker, I don't know what that is. Like, yeah, on defense, it's all just about playing reactive. If they aren't creating threats, they aren't creating any, you know, routes for them to take space, then we don't have to do anything. But it's about making sure I have resources to counteract the threats. So when Diva uses boosters, when a Reaper uses TP, that's basically my turn to use my dash to create a counter threat on their backline. And by creating a counter threat, their supports will either have to disengage, right? Or their tank will have to disengage, like, to keep them, like, from dying. Like, it's just some sort of pressure that they have to respond to so that they can't keep taking space. There, you know. Kind of stood in the open and died to Widowmaker. Unlucky. Yeah. And what I like to think about a lot, and what I teach very like thoroughly is, you know, when you should be shooting who, like what should your target priority be? And the easy way to think about it is, can the diva get support, right? Can this diva get support right now? No, she can't. So I'm gonna shoot this diva. If the diva can get support, okay, now I'm gonna pivot to the supports. But the second I force the supports out, I'm instantly pivoting back to that diva because she doesn't have support again. You know what I mean? And then, you know, it's different if they haven't actually, you know, contested space yet. If diva's sitting in her team space, I'm still just gonna shoot the diva because that's all I see. I'm not gonna dive past the diva. But the second the diva dives into our space, that's gonna force the supports to walk up into neutral space, and that's when I'm gonna, you know, force them back into their space, and then I can pivot back to that diva. And that diva will either then just straight up die, or she will what was I gonna like the diva is either gonna die, or she's gonna get forced. She's gonna have to disengage, right? Yeah, so Genji, when you're playing Genji, you want to think about, you know, what does Genji do? What is Genji's strength? What is weakness? Well, Genji does not have good range. He has very weak poke. So you wouldn't ever put Genji in the same composition as a Widowmaker because they just do different things, right? Widowmaker wants to play for range. Genji wants to get close. He wants to close the distance.
Got you.
So, you know, the best way to close the distance. Oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, and I know that, you know, the term of hard counters is not necessarily the case.
Yeah,
but...
yeah. I am a person who completely disagrees with the whole idea of like rock paper scissors, right? Like of just counter swapping and all that. Well, you know, there is some truth in that. It's really just a matter of playing the matchup differently, and you know, some matchups are just going to be harder than others, and that's all it really is.
Sure.
So like for example, say I'm playing against a Pharah and a Mercy, right? Genji's gonna struggle against that, and a lot of people will try to take that, you know, head-on matchup against a Pharmacy, and they're gonna struggle because Genji, you know, is weak in that department. But what you should be doing is instead not fighting the Pharmacy and fighting the other support, because if a Mercy is always pocketing a Pharah, that means that the other support is going to be weaker, right? Because they don't have support with them.
Right.
And so it's just about like establishing that weakness in the team comp, and that's gonna be the other support in that instance. You know what I mean?
Right. Because basically that one's a pocket healer for only one character.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, why fight, you know, basically two players when you can just fight one and force out more resources that way? And a lot of the time, you're gonna be able to draw that Mercy back to that other support. And then that's gonna take pressure off your team because that Pharah won't have that Mercy helping you, right?
Right.
But people will kind of look at that matchup and say, well, you know, Pharmacy, I'm Genji, I lose, right? And they think it's that simple. So like here, I see they have, you know, Pharah. I'm simply just gonna, you know, try to not fight the Pharah and fight the Widowmaker instead, you know?
Right.
And so I'm gonna try to close the distance. And closing the distance with your dash is going to be the main way you do that with Genji. But if you can close the distance without dash, that's going to be more ideal. And it's really just about pathing. I'm going to path through the right side because this is a close space for me. It's just a close position where, you know, I can take favorable gunfights. And now I have a flank on this Widowmaker just because I simply, you know, just took a smart path to get to her, right? And yeah, a lot of the time with heroes that focus on close range, your pathing is going to be very important. And it's also going to be a very common thing with a Reinhardt. If a Reinhardt is just trying to close the distance through open space the entire time, he's never taking, you know, like close quarters engagements, then he's just going to take too much damage before he actually reaches where he wants to go. And it's the exact same thing with Genji. So it can just be wall climbing to different high grounds and pathing. Like, instead of walking down this path, I can walk up here and now I'm already in that close range, right? And like same thing with this Widowmaker. If I try to walk to that, you know, that long path, that long line of sight, I'm just gonna lose the fight.
Right. Got it. Does Genji deflect? Does it deflect or does it remove
Yeah.
damage?
Yeah, so it does deflect back at them, yeah. So same thing here. I'm just utilizing this high ground to kind of control my engagement timings with them.
Right.
And I'm just focusing on trying to not take as much damage as possible. A very big mistake that people make is they just take too much damage. And if I'm taking damage, you know, my Ana can't heal my tank, or my supports are using resources on me. Now my team isn't getting resources, and that goes for healing. But also, I want my Ana to be able to do more damage. The less damage I take, the more damage my Ana can do, and that's gonna be like important pressure. That's way more worth it than me just like feeding for a little bit more damage on my part. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure you're taking the least amount of resources as possible from your team, and that's just gonna be able to enable them more.
I was watching when I was at Overwatch, I was watching most of the teams, at least in the series I was watching, had
Yeah.
Ana healers, and it seemed like it's just basically as an additional DPS. It's just like Kiriko,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Like you're not,
Yeah.
you're not
For sure.
healing, you know, you're doing no DPS, so you're not a liability.
And it's hard for people to really like realize that part of support, but it's, you know, like an easier way to really understand it is just when you think about Mercy. If you think about a Pharah and a Mercy, right? When a Pharah is, you know, just flying in the open more often, now Mercy can't damage boost her because she has to heal her instead, right? But the more Pharah plays cover, the more Pharah, you know, saves her team's resources, the more she's gonna get damage boosted, and that's just gonna result in more damage, right?
I mean, obviously, this is an obvious question, but I'm going to just highlight it. Map knowledge clearly really important, especially as you talk about these folks.
For sure, yeah, 100%. The more you learn the maps, the easier you're going to be able to close the distances without losing resources, and that's very important. You know, instead of me walking through this main choke, if I take an off angle from high ground, now I can save my deflect for when I do engage in that fight. Save that deflect to trade for, say, an Ana sleep dart, instead of having to use my deflect to get to the Ana instead, right?
With the sleep dart, could you deflect an Ana sleep dart?
I could sleep her, yeah.
You have to know what
You can. There's kind of like a sound cue, and you can like see her do it, but it's definitely not easy to see. Yeah. And so you can kind of preemptively do it in certain situations if you just have a lot of people looking at you. Yeah, so here's the same thing. This choke point, I'm just seeing anything past this choke is their space. Anything on this side of the choke is, you know, more or less our space. You know, it's kind of a combination of neutral space in the middle where this payload is. Like this Roadhog's walking in. He doesn't have support, so I'm simply just shooting the Roadhog, right? I don't always have to be diving somebody.
Right. Just zip lining up real quick to try to get out of there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, like if the, you know, during, you know, a big, I guess, misconception is that you always have to be diving, or you always have to be making some threat. But you don't. You need to make sure you're poking in the poke phase when you need to. Like, make sure your team has the resources before you dive. Because if I'm diving when my team doesn't have resources, like my Ana doesn't have nade, my, you know, whatever it might be, maybe I'm playing with a Sombra, my Sombra doesn't have her translocate again, right? I need to make sure my team has these things so that when I engage, we can actually do something together, right? And a lot of time people get kind of unsynchronized in their cooldown cycles. And then a lot of time they'll accidentally, you know, they will be synchronized, but it's like on accident a lot. And so some games people will like be rolling, and the next game they'll just start getting rolled, and they're like, what's happening? When it can just be them accidentally falling into the right play and then accidentally falling into the wrong play right after. And it, like, sometimes it's hard to recognize when you actually are in the wrong play. But
Awesome. Well, good game there. I'll spectate your next one. Let me know when you're in.
yeah, I'll try to talk about like my thought process more in this game.
No, it's fine. I mean, the gameplay's
Yeah.
is amazing, but yeah, it is good to understand because earlier today, like I haven't played Genji much, and then I was inspired after watching you play last night, and so
Yeah.
But I wasn't thinking about the things you're thinking about, right? Like I wasn't considering the, you know, the liabilities, the positioning. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, Porter was, you know, or sorry, Coach Theory was going out of his way last night to really kind of dive in on these dudes, and so in my mind I was just like diving right in and I was getting my ass kicked and I didn't really understand why. But again, after listening to, you know, your thought process, it's really helpful to me.
Yeah. So right now I'm simply just waiting for my team to respawn, you know. It seems obvious, but I'm telling you, people don't do it. I'm back feeling on I don't know what's going on in this game.
Yeah, you got. I was gonna say this game's already in progress.
Yeah. Got 30 seconds left. Yeah, we'll make something happen. So right now my team's just kind of like staggering out.
Yeah, there's probably a pretty good reason why the person left this game.
Yeah, really the main thing I'm thinking is I just need to wait for my wrecking ball to engage my somebody EMP and like then I go in with them. Like I just need my wrecking ball to go.
You don't want to get greedy. It's 5v1 basically.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a little bit of nothing. Let's leave. I can't leave. Can I not leave because I just like backfilled it?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Hey Mark, let me know if that's better. There we go. Turn my microphone up. Currently that's pretty quiet.
Something that I like to think about, again, like on any role, any hero, any map, something I like to teach is just like I want you to just like think of 3 main kind of goals that you're trying to accomplish in like any given moment. It's just, are you giving up space? Are you just holding space? Or are you trying to take space?
Gotcha.
And you know, if you're just holding space, that's probably a situation where you're trying to stabilize. And when I say stabilize, I just mean get your resources back, which could be just getting healed, getting your health back, reloading, or just getting your actual cooldowns like my dash or my deflect, right?
Right.
Any of those things. So if I'm holding space, I'm probably just getting resources back, waiting for my team to get their resources back. And then once we have resources, we can begin to try to take space again if that's what we're wanting to do. And then if we're giving up space, that's usually when we're like at a resource disadvantage, which could just be us like losing some exchanges, like maybe they outplayed us in some cooldown exchanges, or they simply just use an ultimate, right? If they use an ultimate, okay, we give up space. If we use an ultimate, now we try to take space, right? Because we have a resource advantage.
The hand will not flinch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round 1. Capture the objective.
Sorry, I had to step away for 1 second. Apologize.
All good.
This is a new game here, so let me get over to
Yeah.
you.
So again, I'm just looking to control this high ground because this high ground overlooks the point. If they don't have this space, then that is good for my team. Not necessarily looking to do anything. We don't want to take space over there, right? Because the point's over here. I don't care about their spawn, right? So if they don't want the point, then that's all good. All right, now we're just gonna shoot Ramacha. So if Ramacha doesn't have support, all I gotta is shoot Ramacha. I don't have to dive anybody, right?
Right.
I'm just gonna take an off angle. This is gonna help me close the distance. I don't need to use my dash yet. Don't need to use my dash. Now I'm gonna pivot to the soldier because we isolated him, right?
Right.
So it's like we were like walking on his team. We're staging on these guys. We're forcing them back. Okay. Now we instantly just pivot back to the soldier, and that a lot of time that's gonna be what happens to the tank. You know, if we can create a big enough threat to make them all disengage, now their tanks stuck on the front line. You just need to start damaging the tank because he can't get supported, right?
Right.
Alright, the soldier is isolated here. So, in like a soldier matchup, it's just about closing the distance. If you close the distance on a soldier as Genji, you should kind of win that engagement just because you do more damage at close range. But if you can't close the distance, then you should probably lose. But you have to hit your shots, unfortunately, which I'm not doing. But, you know, it's all good. It's all good.
Somebody like a Brigette, right? Like she's pretty rough, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That's when you want to keep your distance.
So, Against a Brig, yeah, you want to ideally like poke her down a little bit before you hard engage. You don't want to just instantly hard engage on her Brig, especially if you don't, if she has all of her cooldowns. That's a bit dangerous. That goes for like really anybody. Like if you dive in Ana that has full cooldowns and she's like competent, you're gonna really struggle. If she's hitting the anti and she's able to hit that sleep, she doesn't have to necessarily hit that sleep, but it's gonna force you to use your deflect, right?
Right.
And now you don't have your deflect to disengage, which you will be using a lot to disengage. So when you're diving, you want to kind of, I guess, soft engage before you look for a hard commit. And these soft engages will just allow you to burn out some of their cooldowns, and then that will make the hard engage a lot more safer.
Got it. Nice job. And that's a reflect right there.
Yeah, that's the deflect, yeah.
Or, sorry, deflect, yeah.
Score 1 to
So you can kind of, so like whenever I was wall climbing that high ground there, right? When there's people below me, since like because of that position, I can just fall on them, and now like I'm already in the range that I want to be as a Genji. So I didn't have to use my dash. So now in that situation, I can actually use my dash to disengage because I already pathed to them, right? Like
Right.
using the map.
Right.
So you want to do that as many times as you can, just using high grounds, and then you can also if you're like depending on the map, you can just disengage by wall climbing back up to the high ground, right?
Right.
So the more you can do that, you can kind of trade cooldowns without having to use any of yours, right? If you just drop on them in a wall climb, and like they had to use an on maybe an honest sleep, and you didn't even have to use your dash, like that's very good for you because now you still have it, and you can instantly re-engage onto them right after. Okay, here, Wrecking Ball on my team. I'm just gonna force out Wrecking Ball, okay? Wrecking Ball's forced. And now Wrecking Ball is gonna have to get healed a little bit, So
Right.
that gives me some space. Wrecking Ball needs to get healed. I'm just gonna go in right now, because Wrecking Ball can't actually cause too much pressure on my team because he doesn't have much HP yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So during that, I don't actually know, but I'm assuming that Mercy was, having to heal that Wrecking Ball more, so the people I was shooting couldn't get Mercy heals. You know what I mean?
Got it.
And if the Mercy pivoted to the people I was attacking, I could just disengage, and now Wrecking Ball is either gonna die or get forced out. And that might not result in any kills, but it's gonna result in lots of space for my team, and that's
Right.
like really the main objective, right?
Got it.
So same thing, Wrecking Ball, no support. Okay, he dies. But the second these guys walked up, I was gonna hard commit on them, force them back, and then pivot back onto the Wrecking Ball right after.
So you're basically zoning him away from his team.
Exactly, yeah. So Genji's a hero with a very weak poke phase. It doesn't do much. You're kind of just throwing random shurikens, and like sometimes they do damage, like it's whatever. But he gets that high spike of value when he actually gets that dive off. Right now, this tank's kind of just feeding. But I'm telling you, a lot of players on Genji wouldn't even be shooting the tanks. They would just be obsessed with like going for a dive instead. But it's just about reading like the situation, like what actually is happening. And right now, the tank's just isolated, so I just damaged the tank, right?
And I'm assuming previous behavior is a good indication. Like this tank, at least historically, has been feeding. Like the tank's going to continue to start pushing,
yeah.
right? I mean, maybe he'll fix his behavior, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's still like just without his team entirely.
Yeah. So I'm on point. Okay, I'm forcing Sombra out. Like this is what everybody on my team should be doing. We should force Sombra out. Now we look back to the main player.
Got it.
Alright, now playing a stable position. They don't have health. Right here, I unfortunately just can't do much.
How long is that helping a hack for?
I don't know, but very long. Unfortunately, yeah. Okay, we do have Nana.
Nice try. Yeah, you're sitting without health for a long time there.
Yeah, all good.
I shall take whatever form I must.
All right, Mark. I turned up my. Let's see about that. Apparently my voice is pretty quiet. So.
So look, if I walk right side, this is gonna help me close the distance on this guy, right? Look, now I'm here. Now I'm instantly on him. I can just drop on him, and look, I'm just on this soldier right here. I'm just on him already, like this. It's like very, very easy. I just walk on him, like. Okay. Okay, that hurt. Alright, so what I should have done is just disengage back to that high ground because they use the lamp, right? And then after I can re-engage from that same high ground, and they won't have lamp anymore. And that's kind of how you want to play dive. You want to have multiple engagements that have high value. You don't want long, short, like, you don't want a short amount of long engagements, you just want a high amount of short engagements. Should be good. Like, just something like that. It's just like a small engage. We force out some cooldowns, and then we do it again. Okay, we walk left, close the distance, miss the shots, it's all good though. miss the shots, okay, look, we take some space for some cooldowns. Okay, now we engage again. We're gonna force this guy's lamp, look, he used lamp. And now we disengage. Okay, now we engage, they don't have lamp this time. And see, I'm able to get that kill because of what I just did. Like, I had a short engagement before, forced out lamp, I go again, now he doesn't have it, right?
Right. And is there a priority target when you get your ult up?
It's really just gonna be the weakest targets on the team. The people with the least sustain, right? So I'm not gonna go for a tank, I'm gonna go for a Zenyatta, right?
Right.
And same thing goes for my ult. I don't want to hard engage right away. I would rather, you know, have at least one soft engage just to force out maybe an on a sleep, even just an on a nade or a Baptiste, like his like regenerative burst. Just any one of those things. If I can just have a soft engage, force out one of those, then my ult's just gonna have way more value because they're gonna have less to sustain it. But right now, like as you can see, my mechanics are like kind of lazy right now. But the main thing is that I'm focusing on closing the distance using, you know, stable positions like outside of the main fight, like taking a off angle, right? And then I'm taking multiple short engagements to kind of wear them down over time, so then I can look for that hard engagement at the end of the fight.
One. Round 3. Capture the objective.
It comes to this. Do not falter.
We poked at that brig, right? And then we relate the kill.
Yeah, see, when I was playing it, my tendency was to try to push in with my dash and then start doing stuff. And it seems like you're kind of getting him soft before you do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So damage-wise, like the melee stuff's actually.
So yeah, if the max damage output is just throwing in a little melee after right click. That's just kind of get that finish on them. But if it's not gonna finish, it's better for you to kind of just keep right clicking until they are in that finish melee range.
Got it.
Alright, we force one stun out. Okay, we use an ult. I just walk with the pressure. Do you see how I missed all these shots? That's not something you want to do. For real. Good though.
Do you recommend aim trainers for people?
I hate aim trainers. In my opinion, I don't think you should spend time training your aim. I think your mechanics are just something that are gonna come with time. and it's a lot more beneficial to just work on thinking about the game, like thinking about what you're doing. And once you kind of get down what you want to do, what is the right play, then your mechanics are just going to develop over time. Okay, so they ult, so we have to go with space, right? We have to go with space. We don't want to be taking damage, so my team can sustain this. I don't want to force my team to give resources to me when the rest of my team needs it.
Right.
Honestly, blading there just was not the play, keep it real. Nah, so there, same thing, like, I'm just making the mistake of not disengaging. I keep thinking I can have a long engagement when as a dive, I should be taking a shorter engagement and then disengaging, getting resources back, and then re-engaging right after. And that's what I'm not doing. I gotta say though, aiming with talking, not a skill I have.
Hey, you gotta play the game.
Hey, a little play of the game still.
This is the deflect in and full speed that time.
I love the deflect, I love it. Something to kind of think about when you're playing Genji is, you know, I mean, really any hero, but, you know, what supports do you have? If you have, if say you have like a Mercy Zen, like you have very low hills, right? Very, very low hills, so your team wants to play very slow. That's more of a comp that wants to play slow and play for damage, just like how a Widowmaker would. So as a Genji, you got to be very careful that you're not playing too fast of a tempo for your team to actually sustain you. But when you do have something like an Ana or a Kiriko that can sustain you more, then you know, then you can kind of understand that and lean into that more, and you can get more aggressive.
When it comes to, because you know, with like MOBAs, different characters have different levels of difficulty. The game will recommend certain things. In regard to this game, right? Like, I play a lot of Junkrat, and it's probably because I'm kind of junk. But when it comes to characters, like, would you, just based on the movement alone, it feels like this is more of an advanced character. Just because, again, watching your play style, it definitely is very reliant on the map knowledge, and again, kind of, I think one of the things that I think you've highlighted before is spending a lot of time in the game to better understand.
Sometimes I just hum.
The health bar alone is not an indication of how easy or hard it is to finish somebody. And so in my mind, like, I'm diving after somebody with my melee, but they may have, you know, it may be a bad decision for me to dive in when they're half health compared to with another character.
For sure, yeah. Genji, I think Genji is absolutely one of the hardest heroes in the game, with one of the highest skill ceilings in the game as well.
Got it.
He definitely has a tough barrier of entry, because, you know, you don't really get value from just kind of sitting there and shooting, right? Like how, like, maybe a soldier or a Junkrat would, you know. Like they will still get value from just straight up like shooting them, right? Because they will do some damage. Genji, you need to think more about what you're doing, like, right? You need to have more of a plan and understand what you're trying to accomplish. Because if I just sat here and just poked away at them, I would never get anything done, right?
Right.
So the same thing though, I'm gonna kind of wall climb, just a little soft engage on them, right? Maybe I stand here with the deflect. Like, they use some resources. Okay, now we're back out. And we're still just looking for an opportunity to dive on the backline. Okay. Same thing, we force some resources, right? And we're just poking them down over time. And it might not look anything, but now, like, this next engagement, we're probably just gonna win, because they don't have any more resources.
They don't have lamp anymore.
Right. And look at me, like, look at my mechanics right now. Like, you know, they're like decent, but like they're nothing too crazy, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not absolutely peaking right now or anything. I'm just like fundamentally engaging, right? I know when I should be in, I know when I should be out. Okay, now we're just going to disengage to the high ground, right? They use an ultimate, we're just going to disengage in a way. And now we're back in.
Yeah, I do see a lot of melee use. So to your point earlier, like, because for me, like, if I was that close, I wouldn't necessarily be doing the melees as
Yeah.
a follow-up to the blades. So that's a good call out.
Yeah, it just gives you like a little bit higher burst of damage. You know,
Right.
I think in like some of these instances, it's better for me not to melee because I'm missing the shurikens. But if I was to hit all like the shurikens in the head, right, then the melee would be finishing them. So that's kind of like the reason I am attempting to do that.
Got it.
So like there's, see how like I kind of deflected right after. Like something you can kind of do is just always throw in a right click, but like before anything do. Like I'm gonna dash, okay. Like let's throw some shurikens with the dash.
Oh.
I'm going to deflect. Let me right click with the deflect. You know, like I'll just go like this. I'll just like right click and deflect like that.
Got it.
And same thing with your blade. Right before you pop your blade animation, you can just throw in a right click. And it's just a little bit extra damage you can accomplish that way. Like right like this. And again, I'm just, you know, finding the, I guess, lowest sustainable target. The target with like no sustainability, which would be like a Mercy or Lucio.
Right.
And by targeting them, it's gonna force more resources out of their team to keep them alive.
Right.
Right now, I'm getting hit by every Sigma Rock though. This is crazy. Alright, so we're back on Mercy. Look, I don't need to use my dash. We just walk on her because I already used the map, right?
Right.
Team kill.
Anybody in the stream have any questions around Genji? I see a couple folks on there, Marky and Poison Ivy.
I'm walking top left, right?
Yep.
To close the distance. Okay, I can just jump around here. I'm just pivoting away from the Sigma.
And this is very much highlights map knowledge.
And I'm dead. Yeah.
Because I didn't even know you could get up there. Just to be honest with you.
Alright, so you're not gonna want to stand in those Junkrat mines. Something I will highlight.
Yeah, it does feel like Junkrat's an easy one shot for you if you get caught off guard. Yeah, with
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, something to take away is mechanics are just very overrated. You don't actually need a good mechanics tag to accomplish things and be good at the game. They will help a lot, but I feel like this is a good example of me just missing so many shots and getting hit by like so many things. But I'm just thinking fundamentally like when I should engage and when I shouldn't and where I should be pathing, right? Like same thing, I'm just pathing, you know, through an off angle, right? They can't see me, like I'm just closing the distance. And now, you know, I'm next to this Junkrat, but now I can just fall on this Mercy. I'm just on this Mercy now, right?
Right.
I didn't have to go through the Sigma to get through.
Right, and now she's not paying
And-
attention to healing the tank.
Exactly.
Poison Ivy asked, what are some of the best supports that synergize with Genji? Obviously, we see a Mercy in here, damage boosting you, which is
So-
good for the whole family. But
Yeah, so the best supports that synergize with Genji are definitely going to be Ana, because Ana is able to support me from a distance, right? I'm a lot of the time not going to be in a place where a Mercy is going to be able to support me. So Mercy is not really going to be optimal when I'm, you know, actually in that dive mode, right?
right,
So Ana, Kiriko really has that range as well. Kiriko can also help take like aggressive off angles with me, which is great,
Right.
and keep me up on the off angle. And then Lucio is nice. Lucio can be nice with Genji because he supports that kind of fast playstyle that Genji supports. You know, he's really good at getting Genji in and then engaging out. That same idea, just those cycles of those fast but short engagements that you want to accomplish with that.
gotcha.
Yeah, I'd say Ana's probably the best for Genji, and then I'd say Ana Kiriko. Ana Kiriko.
And are there other synergies? You mentioned like a Black Widow Genji not necessarily being a strong
Yeah.
composition when it came to 2 DPS. Are there others that I know it's more of a categorically just based on range and things like that? But are there others?
You mean
that,
like?
are there others that are
any
like
that
preferred?
would
Like if you're a
any of this?
Genji, well, if you're a Genji, like the best complement to Genji from a DPS perspective would be not. It doesn't have to be one, but like what's
Yeah.
something that comes to mind?
I know what you mean. So definitely gonna be Tracer. You know, Tracer has that same kind of play style of just playing aggressive, playing fast. Those, you know, those cycling of engagements.
So does that categorically, like when we were talking earlier about the different types of teams, which we can go through in another video, but like, is that more of a poke team then? I guess that if you have a Tracer and a Genji, or
No, that would be dive.
the dive? Sorry.
Yeah. So, but then, you know, a lot of the time you can also play with an Ashe, and Ashe, you know, would be more of that poke element, but she can kind of support the dive from distance, if that makes sense. Kind of the same way Ana does, and so it's really nice to look for dynamites like on these dive engagements, right? If we can kind of synergize like a Genji dash and a dynamite at the same time, that would be, you know, good value. If we can get that on that same location. Same thing with like Winston. Like Winston is very common to be played with, you know, an Ashe or a Tracer. So you know, same thing with Ana. If we can look for like Ana nades, Ashe dynamites, and then we're diving with those at the same time, you know, they can actually support each other that way. But when we're thinking about, you know, how an Ashe would play more back, and then an Genji would be in, like it might get more confusing, you know, because they kind of are doing different things, but they can support each other at the same time. And so yeah, you can still like mix and match different heroes into different team comps, of course.
Right. Is there a DPS that? So you mentioned Widowmaker. Are there others that would fall under that same category of just not?
Of not working with Genji.
Yeah, maybe like leaning too much into.
Yeah. I'd say like, so I'd say you wouldn't really ever run Genji with like a Mei.
Okay.
Because Mei is really focused on just playing that brawl, like brawly frontline. It's very frontline focused. Just win the battle on the front line, win the space on the front line, and just really play to sustain like a longer engagement. Genji just, you know, isn't gonna get the job done as well as somebody else would. Like say, you know, like say you're playing like a Reaper, like a really aggressive Reaper Zarya, and your Zarya is building a Reaper, right? You're not necessarily gonna want a Genji for that playstyle if you'd rather like play it with a Mei, right? Mei is just gonna try to isolate people on the front line, and then you're gonna burst them down. Genji doesn't have that same damage output that say a Reaper would, you know what I mean?
Got it.
So
Just in regard to attacks and better understanding the abilities, so you have kind of your directional, and you have kind of almost a shotgun blast, right? 3 that are sent out in different directions, and then you have 1 that's directional. How does that? Are you kind of alternating between the two? Are there times that it makes more sense to use one versus the other? If you're further distance, or using the kind of the singular, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So what it comes down to is it's really simple. It's just what's gonna do more damage in the moment, right? And typically at range, you're just gonna want to left click. It's just gonna be more consistent because your right click spreads out at more longer distances, right?
Right.
But at close range, like the main difference is like when we look at a right click, I throw all 3 shurikens at the same second, right? The left click, it spreads them out over maybe 2 seconds, right? So it's slower damage, right? So when we're up close, it's just optimal to right click because the damage happens faster. But at range, it's not optimal because we're not gonna hit all 3 shurikens. So you know,
so even though it
depends.
spreads out, but it's yeah, I get what you're saying.
So and then also maybe it depends like on the target. Like if I'm fighting a Winston, even if the Winston's kind of far, I'll still right click because like I'm pretty confident I'm gonna hit all 3, right? Because he's a big target. But if it's like a Widowmaker, I'm gonna be left clicking the whole time at range, right?
Right.
All right. So here, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna path the right side. We can wall climb up here, and this isn't only gonna help me close the distance on these guys. It's just gonna control the space for my team. Now people can't be peeking down on my team, you know?
And they saw you go over here, so now they're nervous. Right?
I'm walking over here, and I just closed the distance, right?
Yep.
And now I didn't kill this Widow, even though I should have. right? Even if I didn't kill the Widow, it's fine because I forced out a bunch of resources to keep that Widow alive.
Right.
And now I have Alari, and something very important is in this situation, this is fine because I'm not doing anything, right? But Alari is trying to fight me, so she's not helping her team. So, you know, when Alari wasn't there, she wasn't actually contributing to the fight, so it's just like an even exchange of a one
Right.
for one.
It's
Not doing
almost
anything
like
to
you
fight.
had her CC'd because you
Yeah.
took out one of their teammates.
Exactly.
And then you
And
had
then
her out of the
as long
fight.
as I just live, that's fine because Alari is not doing anything either. And then the second Alari goes back to the fight, okay, now I pivot back into the fight. But if
Right.
Alari's not doing anything, I don't need to do anything yet, right?
So it's a lot of patience in that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I struggle with, and probably a lot of new players struggle with is
Yeah.
you feel like you have to be doing something at all times.
For sure. 100%. 100%.
It's maybe more surgical.
Alright, so same thing. Now I'm just gonna walk down and I instantly close the distance on these people right here, right? And I just did a stupid thing. But
Well, you didn't realize what's her name had her turrets there.
yeah, no, I meant to dash out, but I did not dash out. But it's just that same idea. By being able to wall climb up there, I can instantly engage on those people without having to use a dash or take any damage in the process of reaching them. I'm just already on them because I fell from the high ground.
Right. So you're sneaking around.
Now here, I'm just immediately disengaging back to the high ground like this, right?
Right.
This is a very effective thing to do with Genji. Now I can just re-engage. I'm back on him. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the high ground now. Get my resources back. Now I can kind of just like walk across this bridge to re-engage with them. And controlling this high ground is also very beneficial for my team because that's just one less angle that they have to worry about now.
Right. Especially as
There's
they're
less
running
space for them.
Widowmaker and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So same thing. I was attempting to disengage back to a high ground to get resources again, and then I would have re-engaged onto the Ashe if I did get resources back.
Got it.
Assembled and ready.
Yeah, so say on a map like this, or this second point in particular, like people would never be running a Sigma at the highest level because Sigma can't contest his space up here because he doesn't have mobility. This is a very dive heavy map because this high ground is so dominant. So it'd be a lot of, you know, Winston's, you know, divas, things like that, that can actually contest his space.
Well, I feel like they switched away from. Yeah, I think they switched to Ashe from Widowmaker earlier on. But either way, their sniper is. You're denying the sniper the kind of the bird's nest.
Yeah.
Crow's nest.
So once again, I just overcommitted. I just went into enemy space when I didn't need to. Like, I'm already controlling this space, so why am I walking into their space? Well, because I'm greedy, that's why. You know, that's why everybody does it. It's all good though.
Well, I'm sure there's kind of a play to win and a play to have fun situation. And if
Exactly,
you're doing
yeah.
high level competition, you wouldn't do things that would be risky.
Oh yeah,
versus
absolutely.
Bug stopping.
And so, something also very important is just always making sure you get value out of your team's ult. Like, if my Sigma's ulting, I should be, you know, I should be shooting the people in his ult. It's very simple, but it does not happen enough. If my Reinhardt has Shatter, I need to be there for a Shatter. When my Ashe throws her Bob, I need to be, you know, making some kind of threat to kind of synergize with that pressure she's making, right? If my Ashe has a Bob out, I should be walking into somewhere because we just have more space because of that Bob.
Right.
Okay, we Bob. Now this kind of just cleanses space for us, so we can walk up to this core now. And then, you know, just being able to use your wall climb to, I guess, take off angles more.
Right.
Like if I'm wall climbing like this, now I'm at a higher level, right? So probably not gonna get headshotted if I'm doing
Right.
that. Okay, now I just focus on keeping the support back so Wrecking Ball will get forced out. I don't have to kill this person. I just need to make sure so they can't support the front line.
Awesome. Nice job.
I'm gaming. I'm gaming.
So any kind of takeaways you have for people from oh, we got to play the game. We better hop into that.
That's it.
Is your alt enhanced at all? Is your reflect enhanced at all during that play the game?
No, no.
Or not play the game. Yeah, the ultimate.
Yeah, the old. Yeah, everything normal. Yeah, but you move a little bit faster during your ultimate, so it helps you close the distance a little bit better.
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna spectate one more game, and I think we'll call it there.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add? So again, I want to highlight Coach Theory. Look him up on Fiverr. We'll post a link in the description once this video's up. We're planning on doing a video for every Overwatch character. Coach Theory again was Grandmaster. What number did you reach on Zarya?
So I reached a rank. I think it was 234 playing Zarya in tank, and then I think the highest I've gotten DPS I've just gotten like Grandmaster 4 or 3. And then same thing for my support. So I'm Grandmaster every role and then rank like 230 something on a tank.
Awesome. Well, and again, highlighting what you have done with different teams. You know, if you look on your Fiverr bio, there's kind of a description. But you will review people's team scrims and give them feedback, as well as do you spectate live games or what's your preferred method, I guess?
So I kind of leave it up to the player. Usually what ends up happening is we'll just decide on doing like a mixture. We will do some live games and then also a VOD review as well, just to kind of give, two kinds of perspectives.
Got it.
But yeah, so I mean, either one works. I think usually the VOD reviews give a little bit more information just because you can look a little more closely at what's happening in the fights.
Right.
But then
you
the
pause
games are also
and all
nice.
That stuff versus reviewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but in the live games, I can kind of like give live feedback and like adjust you accordingly to what you're trying to accomplish during the fight.
So for me, it feels like key takeaways that I'm seeing here is kind of poking to basically bait people to use cooldowns, and then using that as the opportunity to, if it makes sense, to go in for the kill. Also, identifying ways to basically either silo resources from the teams, either cause tanks or healers to be dealing with you versus dealing with whatever the objective is. Anything else that I'm missing on?
So whenever I'm thinking about Genji or any kind of dive heroes, it's just about having multiple short engagements over time, and through these engagements you can force out cooldowns from any team, and then once you've forced enough cooldowns, now you can try to hard engage on them. And it's really just about having a resource advantage in some kind of way, and that can also just be from having ultimate. Say my Lucio beats, right? If my Lucio beats, like that is a resource advantage for me to have, right? So I can just instantly start walking with that pressure. And then, we'll definitely get more in depth about it later on, but, the way I kind of think about the different spaces, I'll talk about neutral space and, the different team space and all of that, but just really thinking about what space your team controls and what space the enemy team controls. And if you can recognize when the enemy tank or any hero really on the other team is contesting your space, then you can try to figure out how to limit the rest of their team